little victories here, and I just want to say thanks so much to everyone for taking the time to view my channel. I'm really happy with how it's growing and gaining true collectors and good people. So I hope everyone, I want everyone to understand that I'm definitely not out to be an influencer or give investment advice or anything like that. I honestly just want to share my years of experience and stories with you all. And to be truthful, I'm not happy with all of the stuff going on in the hobby right now. All the negativity and some influencers abusing their influence and shady activities within the big companies and, you know, group breakers not being trustworthy. But I want you to know that I still have total faith that the bad seeds will be weeded out over time, and, you know, the hobby will keep surviving as it always has and thriving at times. So my personal advice is simple. I think you just need to put the work in, do more things yourself, sell your cards yourself, collect what makes you happy, you know, submit cards yourself, and invest in what you think. You know, don't let others get rich off of you or manipulate your thinking. So with that said, I think this video I made is perfect at this juncture in the hobby. So I'm going to highlight my top 5 absolute favorite, not most valuable, favorite cards I owned and loved in my childhood. So, and it's extra cool because I still own those exact copies today. You know, luckily they were all banged up, beat up from me loving and playing with them so much as a kid. So I wasn't able to grade them and sell them off. So I'm glad I still have those copies. So, and I encourage everyone to reflect on what you loved about collecting when you first started, and think about what cards you loved and collected as a kid. So I'm excited to share some of my memories and stories and cards right now. So let's open up this old mini safe. This is the original one I had as a kid. My mom gave it to me. I think it was hers when she was a kid. It's pretty old. This is where I kept my most treasured stuff. So let's open it up, see what's inside, and start with number 5. All right, let's open it up. Here we go. So here are the cards that I will highlight, but let's quickly see what else is in here. Some $2 bills. I used to love these. I thought they were so cool to look at and rare. My grandma would always put one $2 bill in all of her birthday or holiday cards she gave us. What is this? An old American Eagle. My dad must have gave me that one, I think. But this one's a fun one to highlight. This was one of my ultimate treasures. It was from like 1993. I think I was about 10 years old, and I went to a Blazer game. And after the game, I went to the tunnel where the players, you know, leave the court, and I yelled to Cliff Robinson, Clifford, Uncle Cliffy, a great Blazer. I yelled to him, "Can I have your headband?" And he was so cool. He flung it up in the air, and it went right in my hands, and I grabbed it. It smelled like sweat for years. Look how big this is. It's so cool. I always loved collecting this, and, you know, a huge Blazer fan. It's sad. You know, rest in peace, Cliff Robinson. I don't know if you guys know that 3 of the Blazers starters in that great early 90s team, Kevin Duckworth, Jerome Kersey, and Cliff Robinson, have all passed away too early. So rest in peace, those guys, for sure. What else we got? Got a couple of my favorite slammers, Pogs. A couple of my favorite Star Wars characters, originals, Chewbacca, Boba Fett. This is cool. I'll highlight this at the end. Okay, let's get started with number 5. All right, number 5 is the 1985 second year card of Don Mattingly for the New York Yankees. So this card is special because the day before I was going to have my first surgery, Don't worry, it was nothing major, but it was my first surgery as a kid. My dad took me to the local card shop and told me I could pick out one pack and I could open it after the surgery the next day. So I picked out the 1985 Fleer baseball pack. At the time, it was a little more money. I think it was probably like $5 a pack or something, because it was a hot set. It had, I was, what, about 6 years old. So that set included Roger Clemens rookie card, Oral Hershiser, who was hot, Dwight Gooden, some of those guys that were really playing well at the time. And I still remember that moment at the card shop. I loved going to those 80s, 90s style card shops. It's funny because if I ever get the money and time to open up a card shop, I'm going to make it 80s, 90s style. That look where a whole bomb went off, like a hoarder, piles of stuff, and, it smells like sub sandwiches and it's like a cranky old owner and all that stuff. Those are the shops that I miss. It's not like the ones these days that are all clean and organized and, only sell graded cards and stuff like that, because those old-time shops are where you find the best deals, in my opinion, or the treasures that you just have fun searching through the piles. I loved those ones. But after the surgery the next day, I was all excited to open this pack, and I pulled this Don Mattingly. You can see it's not in great condition. I'm sure there's some creases, but it doesn't matter. I loved this card, and it always has a special place in my heart. So that is number 5. Okay, number 4 is the 1991 Ken Griffey Jr. Stadium Club. Oh man, I loved this card. This set, when it first came out, had so much hype in the hobby. It was like, at the peak of the collecting back then, and everyone thought it was just going to be the most valuable set ever. And it would have been, honestly, if hadn't been for everything being so incredibly mass-produced back then. But I loved this. I loved the photograph. I think it's very artistically, sound, and it's a good photograph. I like how it's horizontal in this case, and, it's the other main factor why I loved this card was the smell. So I'm big on smells from your childhood, that trigger happiness that you just loved. And this was one of the smells. This set, opening these packs, I always will remember that nice glossy card smell. I loved it. That, and along with my favorite candy back then, was Bonkers. They do not make it. It is discontinued a long time ago, but I don't know if any of you remember Bonkers. It was kind of like Starburst, but even better. I miss those. That smell, I'll always remember. The other favorite smell are these cards. The 1992. It made me think of these. This, when you opened a box of these, it was so strong. The memories thinking about that smell. It's these 92 Collector's Edge. This is the first year of these Collector's Edge football. This is Edgar Bennett. He oh man, that was such a terrible rookie class. I think about it, 1992 football. I don't think there's one Hall of Famer from that class. Really. I don't know if that's a record or what, but I don't think there's one Hall of Famer from the 92 football draft class. That's crazy. He was decent, Edgar Bennett. He played for the Packers. I think he won a Super Bowl and maybe rushed for 1,000 yards in one of the years. I think his prime was the mid-90s. But anyway, the smell. If you ever get a chance, if you see these old wax, open it up and smell that. But yes, this is my number 4 is Griffey, the 1991 Griffey. I think this is an iconic card. I love it. I always will. All right, moving on to number 3. My number 3 most treasured card as a kid is the 1988 Donruss Cal Ripken Jr. I think this is from the Baseball's Best set. Oh man, this is card. He was, for one thing, he was my favorite player. But this card, I loved the colors on. I think it was because the color match. One of the original cards with the color match. You know, you got the orange and the black that matches the Orioles uniforms, which was my favorite. I think that's why I started loving Cal Ripken Jr. You know, like most kids, you just like the uniform color at the start when you're so young. I think that made me like the Orioles, which led me to Cal Ripken, that's a good player to love. You know, it's a good player to have as your favorite because he was a good guy. Iron Man, obviously, Hall of Famer. So, I just love this card. You can see it. It's like a glossy finish. Yeah, it's pretty dirty. It's okay. This 1988 Donruss makes me think of a kind of, I wouldn't say fun story, an embarrassing story. So, you know those moments in life, those really embarrassing moments that you remember forever, just throughout life, and you kind of relive them sometimes when you can't sleep at night. It's brutal. This was one of them. So I was probably around 5, and while my brother was in school, he was older. I wasn't in school yet. He loved Don Mattingly, so I found in my collection an 88 Donruss Don Mattingly, which you can see right here. And I thought, oh man, I'm going to give my brother this card. You know, he's going to love it. I want to be nice and give it to him. So I waited all day, all excited, to give him the card. And he got home, and I gave him the card, and he yelled at me. He yelled at me, and he said, "That's not Don Mattingly." And then he just kind of threw the card down. I was like, oh no. I was so embarrassed at that. I remember I was really upset, you know. I picture a little 5-year-old all excited. The card, so I couldn't read. The picture looked like Don Mattingly, but it was not. It was it was another guy on the Yankees that looked just like him. He kind of had that similar 80's mustache. And that guy, that card was right here. Sal Pagliarulo, something like that. So that was a moment that embarrassed me. All right, let's move on to the next one. All right, number 2, we have a basketball card. So my number 2 is the 1988 Fleer Michael Jordan. This actually might be the most valuable card from my collection out of the top 5. I loved this card as a kid. I mainly did baseball when I was really young, but there's a cool story behind this card too. You can see it's not in the best condition. I mean, it's not. Oh, there you go. Look. I had so much fun playing with this card. In and out of the pages, in and out of the binder. There's a crease there. So, I remember this clearly. I was probably around 6 again, and we were headed home, and my dad had to stop at the grocery store for some milk or something. And I asked, hey, can you grab me a pack of baseball cards? And he's like, okay, sure. And he came back and he said, I'm really sorry, they didn't have any baseball cards, but they had a bunch of these 1988 Fleer basketball packs. Probably no one wanted theirs sitting on the shelf. Everyone is so into the 1988 and 89 Topps or Donruss baseball cards, which is funny because they are absolutely worthless now. Maybe $10 a box, you buy them, junk wax. And these 88 Fleer boxes have to be selling for, I don't know, probably like $4 or $5 grand still. At their peak, they're probably like 15, 20,000. It's pretty nuts, these 88 flares. But I went ahead and, you know, I thanked my dad still and opened the pack. And I pulled the Michael Jordan. And I was so young, but I still knew that Michael Jordan was the best basketball player. So I loved it. I kept it, and, you know, I never traded it with my kid friends back then. And I'm glad I kept it. You know, it would be fun to eventually own these top 5 cards of mine in PSA 10 form, and then display them next to each other. My originals with the PSA 10s. But there you go. That was number 2. All right, my number 1 card, my number 1 all-time favorite card as a kid that I owned was the 1982 Cal Ripken Jr. rookie card. This was my ultimate treasured item. I loved it so much. You can see at the top edge, it has that wear from taking it in and out of the pages. Loving it. It's fun. It's actually refreshing just to be able to hold a card and not worrying about damaging it, you know, because these are cards I just love and I will always keep because they are the originals that I had as a kid. Like I said earlier, Ripken was my favorite player, and I got this card from a card show. I think I spent like $10 of my allowance money on it at the card show, and at the time that was the most expensive card I had ever purchased. And it was a card, man, there were card shows everywhere. I think it was right around in 91 or 92, somewhere around there. But I want to show you how popular the hobby was. I found some of my old Beckett's. This is, move this, Griffey on the cover. This has got to be, look, February of 93. But in the back, they had, this is how they advertised. There was no internet. Look at all these card shows. Pages and pages and pages of card shows. It's crazy. They're still going. Man, if things changed. It'd be fun to look at some of the prices on these cards back then, too. So, yes, this was my favorite card, and still is one of my favorite cards. Also, I wanted to go over one of my favorite items growing up, too. This was in the safe as well. You know, who knows if this autograph is real, but back when I was a kid, you were able to, you know, write a letter to teams and, you know, say, to Cal Ripken, can you please sign, give me a signature, or sign this card? You know, you'd send, in the mail, you'd send in a card of that player and send it to the team. I swear, they definitely wouldn't do this nowadays, but there used to be addresses, actually team addresses, where you could, you know, write these letters and get them to sign it. There we go. Yeah, team addresses. You could send it to the New York Knickerbockers, and hopefully that your favorite player will sign it and send it back. But on this occasion, oh man, look how old everything is. This is a, should we look up what a Michael Jordan rookie card sells for real quick? 81, we're almost there. There it is. Look at all those up arrows. You see it? Number 57, Michael Jordan rookie card, $340. It's going to be fun. Maybe I'll look at that stuff later. But anyway, one of my favorite items right here. I like to think it's a real autograph. It's definitely not a facsimile. You can see it's faded and bleeding, the ink, everything's best wishes. I loved this. I was so happy he sent back an autograph. Who knows? Maybe it'd be fun to just get this authenticated. I'd love to know if it's real. I have no idea. Baltimore Orioles. There you go. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I encourage others to comment down below with your childhood favorite cards. I would love to hear them. And as always, I really appreciate you viewing this video. Have a great day.